Hi, friends. So I have had a really bad sinus headache all day, and for some reason, I don't have it anymore, but I can't sleep. So it's 11:42 p.m., and I am going to do a video about pre-trib rapture proof. This is just one of them. I'm going to guess that the majority of my audience and the people who will see this video are pre-tribbers, but on the off chance that someone is not, let's go through one of the proofs, just a quick one that we can do. Now, for those of you who have followed my channel and the recent videos that I have done, you know that I am doing many research studies to take you through the research process to show you how we draw conclusions. The Bible is its own double check system, and it will never contradict itself. So if you think that it does, you're going to have context wrong in one or multiple areas where you might observe inconsistencies. But one of the other things that I have said for a long time is that the Bible will exclude all of the wrong things until you can only conclude the right answer. You just have to keep going until you have exhausted all of the possible scenarios to understand what it is trying to tell you. And then also, in the mouth of two or three witnesses, let every word be established. So what I have in front of me is a verse that a lot of people defer to. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. As I stated, in the mouth of two or three witnesses, let every word be established. There will always, without question, always be multiple references to the same thing to give us additional context. And because of that, we don't have to just rely on one verse to mean what we want it to mean, although this is pretty clear. It's pretty clear. But in case it's not, I'm going to take you through the study to where we can conclude that this is absolutely regarding a pre-trib rapture. So what I have in front of me is, I'll back up a little bit. I have this verse, BibleHub.com. I just brought up Revelation 3:10 in the lexicon, and understanding that this is not KJV, it doesn't matter because I'm just looking for the Greek root word for hour of temptation. So right here, the hour of testings, parasmu, right here. So I'm going to click on this, and it's going to tell me a definition of the word, which I don't actually care about right now. I just want to find context, similar context. I mean, I do care because this is what we're being told we're being kept from. I also will keep thee from, which means you're not going to be there to go through it. But I want to validate that this actually appears other places and tells us the same thing so that we can validate that our context is accurate. I understand that there are some naysayers about this verse saying that it doesn't mean what it says or it means something else. I actually don't even know how they would interpret this, to be perfectly honest, because it's really clear. But in case it's not, like I said, in the mouth of two or three witnesses, let every word be established. So what I have here is this word, and I have a concordance of where this word appears in the New Testament. And it's actually in, well, if we keep scrolling down, it appears, variations of the word appear 21 times. But here's the last time. And I actually want to, and here's the variations down here. So what I want to do is I want to isolate this word exactly in this list of derivations because the Greek language is really specific. It gives tenses, genders, all of these other things which help you really drill down into the meaning of the word. So as close to exactly as we can get, if not exactly, is what I want to look for. So as we'll see, down here is actually where that is, and it tells us there's 4 occurrences of that specific word in the New Testament. So we have one in Luke, which is outside the scope of our discussion here. We have one in Hebrews, which is talking about, if you drill down into Hebrews 3, it's talking about back when Israel was wandering in the wilderness, which is outside the scope of this discussion also. So that leaves us with Revelation 3:10 and 2 Peter 2:9. And 2 Peter 2:9 is actually the sister passage to this, but I'm going to bring up 2 Peter 2 next to our Revelation 3:10 verse, and we're going to read this chapter for context. Now, the verse in question is this: The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. So that clearly talks about a separation event. He's going to take the godly out of temptation and reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. Okay, so you definitely have a separation event here. And then there are other things that it talks about in the wake of judgment and things like that. But what we're going to do is go up to the preceding text to talk about what he gave in the lead up to that verse, what Peter talked about in the lead up to that verse. Because what you'll see is that this is full of separation events used to gain additional context or used to help the reader understand what Peter's talking about in the way of separation between good and evil. And he's actually going to use Noah and Lot. So we're going to take the examples that are given of the separation of the just and the unjust, and we're going to go back to those original stories to gain additional insight about the meaning of Revelation 3:10. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So fundamentally, that's talking about a separation event of people who will not be here to go through the hour of temptation versus people who will be. So what is that separation event between the people who won't be here and the people who will be here? Well, the godly versus the unjust. So we're getting a little bit more explanation here. So let's continue. Like I said, we'll read the preceding verses to see who he uses as examples of this separation event and which pertains to us. 2 Peter 2:1. But there were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. So you're talking about the unjust here. Many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of the truth shall be evil spoken of. That's talking about speaking evil of Jesus, which is really bad. Don't do that or be around people who do. And through covetousness they shall with feigned words make merchandise of you, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth, and their damnation slumbereth not. It means that they're going to have their day of judgment. That these people are going to be on the hook for their rejection of Jesus, and you definitely don't want to be among them when that occurs. So let's talk about this. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, and this is talking about those who bring in damnable heresies, the unjust, so they're going to have their day. And this is what he's going to use to underscore the point that the wicked are going to have their day. The Christ deniers, the Christ rejectors are going to have their day. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. And that's talking about back in the days of Noah, where this Genesis 6 talk here. But when the sons of God, the angels who kept not their first estate, left heaven, fell with Satan, a third of the angels. A third of the angels didn't sin in that way, but they were among the ones that kept not their first estate. Came into the daughters of men, had relations with them, bare children, the mighty men, the giants, men of old, men of renown, and were judged during the flood, which is what he's going to tell you. There was a flood to judge the unjust and to save the righteous, which at that point there were only 8. But those angels that sinned have been chained in the bottomless pit since that event. Jude talks about this, that they're reserved unto the day of judgment, kept in everlasting chains, reserved unto judgment of the great day. So they're going to have their day for being wicked. Okay? So what's the other example? During the flood, when he chained these wicked angels and spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. Okay, so we're going to go back and look at Noah. to see if he relates to what we want to understand about separation of just and unjust. Next, Lot. And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly. And delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked, for that righteous man dwelling among them, and seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. So we have three examples. We have angels, the wicked ones who sinned, and they're locked up in the bottomless pit. And they're actually going to be let out of their chains during the 70th week to be tools of judgment upon people. However, they are outside the scope of this discussion. So we're going to focus on Noah and Lot. So for this, we need to go back to Genesis. We're going to go back to Genesis 5, where Noah is first introduced. The flood came in, well, chapters 6, 7, 8, 9 really deal with a flood, but we're going to go back to the first mention of Noah that we have to see if he is a type and shadow of what we're looking for to be kept out of something, or if Lot is the example of being kept out of something, removed completely. So let's hit Genesis 5 and Genesis 6. The reason I'm going back to Genesis 5 is thus. It gives us a chronology, a genealogy rather, from Adam all the way to Noah. And what we will observe here when we get halfway through the chapter, a little bit more than, is the introduction of Enoch. Enoch lived 65 years, begat Methuselah. Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years, begat sons and daughters, and all the days of Enoch were 365 years, and Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. Methuselah lived 187 years and begat Lamech. Methuselah lived after he begat Lamech 782 years, begat sons and daughters, and all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. Lamech lived 182 years, begat a son, he called his name Noah. The same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord hath cursed. So then it goes into talk about how old Noah was when he had his sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. When you go through the chronology, and I'm not going to take you through this right now, but when you go through the genealogies and you look at the ages of the people when they had their next in line who are also listed in the genealogy, you will find that Enoch walked with God and was not, for God took him 669 years before the flood. That means that since Noah was 600 when the flood came, and we will see this in Genesis 7, right here, Genesis 7:6. Noah was 600 years when the flood of waters was upon the earth. So if and since Enoch was raptured, is taken to be with the Lord, walked with God and was not, for God took him 669 years before the flood, meaning Enoch was not present for any of Noah's life or for the flood itself. Noah is the type and shadow of a remnant, 8 people of the totality of the population on the earth. There were 8 people that God spared because they were righteous rather. So Enoch, in this case, would be a type and shadow of the pre-trib rapture, absent from judgment, of which the flood represents. It's a type and shadow of the 70th week. And Noah was not removed from it. He was preserved through it. So when we're looking for similarity between Revelation 3:10 and Noah and or Lot, we do not find similarity between Noah and Revelation 3:10. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. But that's not what Revelation 3:10 says. That's 2 Peter 2:9. Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Noah was not kept from the hour of temptation. He was preserved through it. So Noah is not an example of the rapture. He is a type and shadow of Israel in the last days, specifically of the remnant who will go through the 70th week to be preserved through it, to come out the other side and to replenish the earth as Noah and his family did. Enoch, in this case, would be a type and shadow of the pre-trib rapture because he walked with God and was taken out of the way before anything related to Noah and judgment occurred. By a period of 69 years before Noah was born, the 600 years from Noah's birth to the beginning of the flood, and then obviously he was also absent from the flood as well. So Enoch, in this case, not Noah, would be a type and shadow of the pre-trib rapture. So then we go to Genesis 19 and we look at Lot. There came two angels to Sodom at even. Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. He said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, wash your feet, and ye rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, and the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out the door unto them, and shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have two daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came into sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now we will deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. Verse 11, And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said unto Lot, Hast thou here any besides, son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters, and whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxing great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. When morning arose, the angel hasted Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife, thy two daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his two daughters. The Lord being merciful unto him, they brought him forth, and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth, that he said, Escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. So what does it tell you? That those people physically brought Lot outside of the city. They set him outside of the city. They removed him physically. Why? Lot said unto him, Oh, not so, my lord. Behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou magnify thy mercy, which thou hast showed me in saving my life, and I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me and I die. So Lot was physically removed from the city by the angels, and then what happened? They told him to haste to Zoar. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities in the plain, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. So this is the example that we take from. The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of, removed altogether from temptation, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. Specifically what Revelation 3:10 says, For thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from, physically removed from, the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Lot is our example here. He was physically removed from the city so that it could be judged. And as soon as he cleared safety, the Lord rained fire and brimstone down and destroyed it. He was not there to go through it, preserve through it. He was removed altogether. Now, in a broader scope, because that's on a micro level, the 70th week is on the macro level, meaning that Sodom and Gomorrah were the only two cities destroyed when God rained fire and brimstone down. And so Lot could simply be physically relocated to another city where he was absent from that judgment altogether. However, the hour of temptation shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And so in the type and shadow of Lot, God physically separating the godly from the ungodly, the just from the unjust, we shall be removed from it altogether, which is what it says. So let's go back to Revelation 3:10 and 2 Peter 2, go 3 through 9. So this is what it's talking about, is you have this verse, the hour of temptation. The parallel passage to this is 2 Peter 2:9. And it gives you two people where there was a separation event. One was a preservation through, but spared through to come out the other side. That's Israel, specifically the remnant of Israel that will go through Daniel's 70th week to be preserved through to come out the other side and to replenish the earth. Then you have one that wasn't there, was removed from it altogether. And again, you just look at this as a smaller scale of what shall be on the larger scale. Essentially, if you look at Lot, he was removed so that two cities could be destroyed. He was physically absent from the judgment because he had been physically relocated. But because this judgment will come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth, we shall be removed from the earth altogether. And so what you would expect in Revelation 3 is then to see evidence of that having occurred. And so this is where we come into the other passage. So you have Revelation 3:10 and the sister passage to that, the parallel passage to that, which is 2 Peter 2:9. So where do you see deliverance out of temptation? The godly out of temptation. To be kept from means to be kept out of. So where do you see evidence that they have come out of Revelation 7? The totality of the redeemed royal priesthood who constitutes believers in the present dispensation are seen coming out of. It means they were never there to begin with because they were removed from the earth. And you see them standing in the heavenly throne room in glorified bodies to denote that they have been physically removed from the earth, which means they've gone through the process of glorification. And so I will end this video by showing you the Revelation 7 imagery side by side to tell you they've gone through a glorification event, which is what coming out of great tribulation means, kept out of the hour of temptation, same thing. This is actually from my Revelation 7 study where I discuss this. There is a contrast presented. Where is it? Unbelievers being cast into great tribulation and believers coming out of great tribulation, which is the same as the separation of the just and the unjust. But when we move into Revelation 7:15, it says that those who came out of great tribulation washed their robes, made them white in the blood of the Lamb. They are before the throne of God, serve him day and night in his temple, which is obviously what a priest does. So you're seeing the redeemed royal priesthood doing priestly duties in the heavenly throne room. And it says, here's what I wrote. The redeemed seed of Abraham through Christ is in the heavenly throne room, being priests unto God, knowing their time to reign will come at a later date and in a different location. And this is because you saw the redeemed royal priesthood in Revelation 4 casting their crowns before God because they will reign nothing in heaven. They tell you that very thing in Revelation 5 when they're singing their song of redemption. Thou hast redeemed us unto God by thy blood out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation, and hast made us unto our God kings and priests. We shall reign on earth. So they don't need their crowns in heaven. But you see them doing their priestly duties in Revelation 7:15. Seeing that they will have reached their day of glorification, which is why they're physically there to begin with, they will all be in glorified bodies. The conveyance of this point is the purpose of the last two verses in Revelation 7. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more. Hunger and thirst are references to human conditions, and Jesus taught us that. Jesus is the bread of life who came to give living water. That's John 6 and John 4. Right here. Spiritually, having been justified, it is true we presently have all we need. However, Revelation 7 is talking about the physical body. In his glorified body, man will no longer require natural food and drink. The same was true of Jesus after he was glorified. Although he was able to eat it, he did not require it. And so 1 John 3, 1 and 2 tells us that we shall be the same. When we see Jesus, we shall be changed into our immortal, incorruptible forms. Paul calls this being clothed upon with our new house. And it says, Adam's sin created a spiritual gap and a physical gap between man and God. The spiritual gap is closed at justification. The physical gap will be closed at glorification. Then, just as Adam was in physical proximity with God while in a perfect state, Garden of Eden more specifically, we too will be allowed into God's heavenly throne room due to our perfect states. This is what we note of the multitude that no man can number, as well as of the elders. They are all glorified. Death was swallowed up of life. The chapter concludes by telling us exactly that. God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. And this actually comes from Isaiah 25:8. He will swallow up death in victory. The Lord God will wipe away tears from off all faces, and the rebuke of his people he shall take away from off all the earth, for the Lord has spoken it. So this is a combination of Isaiah 25 is a combination of what Paul talked about in 1 Corinthians 15 and evidence of what we see in Revelation 7 in the throne room. So basically, this is the key to understanding what we see in Revelation 7. Paul spoke of mortality being swallowed up of life in 2 Corinthians 5, just as we learned. I quoted that verse earlier. But he also spoke of it in 1 Corinthians 15. So basically what you have is Isaiah 25 saying, he will swallow up death in victory. That's 1 Corinthians 15:54. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. So this occurs at the process of glorification. And what did Isaiah link it to? God wiping all tears from off all faces. This is how you know precisely, if there was any doubt, that the multitude that no man can number in Revelation 7 is the redeemed royal priesthood from the present dispensation, and they are in glorified bodies. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, shall lead them unto living fountains of waters, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. So the link between 1 Corinthians 15, the glorification process, and seeing said glorified people in the heavenly throne room is Isaiah 25. And this is also the fulfillment of the promise. Revelation 7 shows you the fulfillment of the promise in Revelation 3. Because Revelation 3, the promise is being made in the present dispensation that he will do something. But in Revelation 7, you've moved into the next dispensation. They're amidst the 70th week. So then you would expect to see, and you do see, evidence that said promise will have been fulfilled. So hopefully, in just this one verse, if you follow it all the way through to its different places, you can see how the pre-trib rapture stands up. Now, this is just one way of understanding that. There are many others. And I can go through them. If someone has a specific thing they would like me to talk about, let me know a verse or a couple of verses. But this is how I go through my Bible studies, is linking verses, linking concepts, because in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. The Bible is going to tell you exactly what it means, and it's going to back itself up in multiple places. So, if you have any questions, let me know. But this has been Revelation 3:10, and how we arrive at the conclusion that that means exactly what it says. We have other scriptures to tell us that that's what it means. And then we see proof in Revelation 7 that it will have happened when the present meets the prophetic. So, if you guys have any other questions, let me know. I'll see you later.